Okay, so we're at the Gemara, and we're talking about the paraduma. The paraduma, what happens if you burn it outside of the temple? That we said you're going to be exempt. So it says the Gemara, when it said burning it outside, and then burn outside a special pit. But what do you mean you're burning it outside? It's special pits. What does that mean? Mai chutz migita 113a. Mai chutz migita amar Reish Lakish chutz mi makom habadakla. There's a special place they checked that it shouldn't become impure. That place they checked was the place you're going to burn the paraduma. If you do it outside of that, you would have thought maybe you're liable, like other things you do outside of its required place. That the Mishnah says no. That's Reish Lakish. Now Rabbi Yochanan says he's going to argue, and we're going to say later what the argument is. Rabbi Yochanan says you're looking for a place that's checked that it shouldn't be impure. So you're telling me there's a special place they checked for that doesn't have impurity. Sounds like Eretz Yisrael, there are places where by default they're impure. To which Rabbi Yochanan says, why is that true? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Eretz Yisrael bedukahi. The whole Eretz Yisrael is checked for impurity. There's no impurity in the whole Eretz Yisrael. We'll get back what was there back and forth. Reish Lakish assumes there is impurity in Eretz Yisrael, and they have to check for a specific place. And Rabbi Yochanan says there's no impurity in Eretz Yisrael, and therefore you don't have to check for a specific place. So now, according to Rabbi Yochanan, that it can't mean it was a specific place they checked for impurity, because Eretz Yisrael is free of impurity. So what does it mean you burnt it outside? Outside what? So Elam Rabbi Yochanan kegon sheshachta lefnim min chomas Yerushalayim. It must be a case where you slaughtered it inside the walls of Yerushalayim. You slaughtered it inside the walls of Yerushalayim. And then outside those walls, you ended up burning it. So now we're going to see that there's a requirement to burn it at the area that corresponds to the opening of the temple. So we're going to end up saying that you would think that since you slaughtered it inside the walls of Yerushalayim, so therefore, even if you burn it not directly corresponding to the entrance of the temple, that should be good enough, to which we say it's not. That we're going to see in a few lines. But Rabbi Yochanan says the cases where you slaughtered it in the walls of Yerushalayim and then you burnt it outside. Says the Gemara, well, why do you have to make it a case that you slaughtered it inside the walls of Yerushalayim? Why don't you just say, just say you slaughter it outside the walls of Yerushalayim, not corresponding to the opening. So the opening of the holy area. So if you do that, that's also going to be invalid. So why did you make it a case that you slaughtered it inside the walls? You could just as well make it a case where you slaughtered it outside the walls in a invalid place, in a place that's not corresponding to the entrance. Yeah, thank you. If you slaughter it not corresponding to the entrance, it's going to be invalid. Shenamar, how do I know? Now it doesn't say anywhere explicitly slaughtering not corresponding to the entrance is invalid, but it's going to be compared to sprinkling. By sprinkling, it says it has to be corresponding to the entrance. Therefore, we're going to compare sprinkling to slaughtering. So, Shenamar v'shachar v'hiza, it says you should slaughter, and then it says you should sprinkle. Just like sprinkling has to be corresponding to the entrance, so too slaughtering has to be corresponding to the entrance. Oh, so now, why did Rabbi Yochanan not say that case, that you slaughtered it outside the entrance, and that's the invalidation? Maybe you'll say Rabbi Yochanan didn't have this exposition where he compares slaughtering to sprinkling, but that can't be. Why? The ha'itmar, it says, skipping the parentheses, that sarfa shelo keneged pesach, if you burn it not corresponding to the entrance, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Psula and Rabbi Oshia Amar Ksheira. Rabbi Yochanan says it's invalid, and Rabbi Oshia says it's still valid, even if you burn it not corresponding to the entrance. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Psula, it says V'sar v'hiza. It says you have to burn it and sprinkle. Rabbi Oshia Amar Ksheira. He says it's kosher because al parsha yisarif makom shepereshes lamisa sham teisrei fasa. It says that you have to burn it where you kill it, and right where it's done goes out at the end of its dying process. So there's no set place. Even if it's not corresponding to the entrance, that's still going to be enough, and therefore you can burn it over there. So what we see that Rabbi Yochanan has this idea that you have to slaughter it and burn it corresponding to the entrance. So why did Rabbi Yochanan not say that the case is that you slaughtered it outside the walls of Yerushalayim, not corresponding to the entrance? Why did he say it was a case where you slaughtered it inside the walls of Yerushalayim? So Amri Lomi Ba'ikamar. Rabbi Yochanan was saying a Lomi Ba'ikamar. It's a certain format when you teach things that you want to teach the bigger novelty. So, I mean, it's not necessary to teach. You wanted him to teach you a case where you slaughtered it outside the walls of Yerushalayim. That's a Lomi Ba'ikamar. That's a not necessary novelty. Like this. Lomi Ba'ichutz L'choma. There's no novelty in teaching me that I slaughtered something outside the walls, not corresponding to the entrance, and therefore burnt it, not corresponding to the entrance. That's for sure invalid. The Rechuki Rechaka, it's so far away from where it's supposed to be. If I slaughtered it within the walls of Yerushalayim, I'm already so close. Therefore, I would have thought of Ematis Kasher. I would have thought that would be fine, even if it's not done corresponding to the entrance. No, even if you slaughtered it within the walls, it still has to be burnt corresponding to the entrance of Yerushalayim, and it also has to be slaughtered. Has to be burnt corresponding to the entrance of Yerushalayim, and therefore the fact that it was so close and maybe had a level of sanctity or whatever is not going to be enough. It has to be slaughtered and burnt, at least in our case, burnt corresponding to the entrance. If you burn it outside of that area, so you would have thought that maybe that's going to be the violation of Pares, like our other cases that the Mishnah told us. If you do it outside, then it's not going to be a violation. Okay, that's that. Now, in the beginning of this discussion, Reish Lakish said that there's a special place that they check that was pure from impurity. It was clean from impurity. There was no corpse tuma in that area, and that's the area that they would burn the para aduma, the red heifer. Rabbi Yochanan says, why do you have to check for the impurity? The whole Eretz Yisrael is free of corpse impurity. So now, what is that debate about? Is Eretz Yisrael, is it or is it not free of corpse, of tumas meis, of corpse impurity? Reish Lakish said it is not free of it, and Rabbi Yochanan said it is free of it. What is that based off of? That's going to be based off of, did the flood in the times of Noah attack Eretz Yisrael? Did it land on Eretz Yisrael? Yes or no? And now we're going to go through an entire page going back and forth proofs if Eretz Yisrael was attacked by the Mabul, was damaged by the Mabul or not. So Amar la Rabbi Yochanan local Eretz Yisrael b'dukihi, the whole Eretz Yisrael is checked. It's checked for Tuma. There's no impurity in the whole Eretz Yisrael. So b'mai kiniflagi, what are they arguing about? Mar Savar Yared Mabul Eretz Yisrael, Mar Savar Yared Lo Yared. One master holds that the Mabul went and landed on Israel, and therefore it caused impurity. Umar Savar Lo Yarad, and the other one said it was never touched. It was never touched by the Mabul. Now, what does the Mabul touching Eretz Yisrael have to do with impurity? Meaning, why are those two things connected? It rains a lot, so therefore we get impurity. But Rashi says, because if the Mabul hit Eretz Yisrael, so then the bones of the people that died went deep, deep, deep down into the earth. So if the bones are deep, deep down into the earth, then you have to specifically check Eretz Yisrael for an area that doesn't have bones there. And then you can burn the Parah Aduma. If the Mabul never hit Eretz Yisrael, if it never touched Israel, so then you're not be worried about that the bones of corpses, people that were killed then, went very deep down inside. Just thinking, not so clear there's impurity. I don't think there's impurity biblically for non-Jews. I think it's rabbinically ordained. It's interesting what the status of the people was at that time. That they would give off impurity. I'm just wondering. Okay. Non-Jewish corpse give off impurity. Okay, I don't know. I don't think so. But okay, fine. Either way. Fine. So that's that. Now, Amar Nachbar Yitzchak, B'Shnei, both Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, they don't derive it from logic. They have a verse that seems to say this. and this verse is in Yecheskel. The Shnei Mikra Echadarshu, they derive it from one verse. And the question is going to be, do you view the verse as a question or a statement? So the verse by Yecheskel says, Ben Adam Amar La At Eretz Lo Matorahi, the land is not pure. So is that a statement or a question? What, the land is not pure? So, or you say, no, the land is not pure. So if it's a question, so then of course it's pure. If it's a statement, it means it's not pure, it's impure. So Ben Adam Amar La At Eretz Lo Matorahi Lo Gushma B'Yom Zam. It never got rained on at that day of anger, that day of the flood. So now, Rabbi Yochanan somewhere, it's a question. It's like, what? You think it's pure and it didn't get rained on a day of fury? Question. Of course it did. Eretz Yisrael Milo Metorah as Klum Yardu Alecha Geshamim B'Yom Zam. That's Rabbi Yochanan. Of course it got impure. Reish Lakish Savar, no, Kipashte, you read it like it's simple meaning, you don't read it as a question. Eretz Lo Metorah, Lo Metorah, At Milo Yardu Alecha Geshamim B'Yom Zam. Rain did not go on it on that day of fury. It did not go on it. And therefore, all right, the other way. Reish Lakish holds that it is impure. So Rabbi Yochanan reads it as a question. Is it not pure? Of course it's pure, and nothing ever happened to it. And Reish Lakish says that you read it regularly, that it's a land that is not pure. It is not pure. And it's not pure because did the rain not go on it? Of course the rain went on it on that day of fury. So Rabbi Yochanan reads it as a question that what you think it's it hasn't remained in its purity. Of course it has. And Reish Lakish says it is not pure. So their debate is based on this how you read this verse. Okay, now let's bring proofs back and forth, attacks back and forth. So Eisei Reish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan, he brings him a Mishnah from the Mesechus Para. So when the Paraduma happened, at some point they did as follows. They would build Chatzeres, how you be Yerushalayim, they would build these courtyards on a rock, and under that they would make a hollow area because any tumah from a corpse is going to penetrate straight through unless you have a tefach of hollow space, on top of it, and then it's not going to penetrate through. So they wanted to have a pure area, so they built these courtyards in Yerushalayim. So ala selo, where there was a rock, they put a hollow area, so in case there's something there, it would now be free of impurity. Mipnei kever at the home. That's what it's called, kever. The grave of the depths is a way to refer to the impurity that could go penetrate all the way up. You have this all around Israel nowadays. You have these hollow areas coming out of places. That's that the Kohanim can walk through. You have different places you see there. They made around these hollow areas coming out on the sidewalks, whatever. If you have to notice it, someone pointed out to me, it's hard to miss, just the Kohanim can walk there. But in case there's something there, right now it's free of that. Yeah. Umevian nashin mubars, and they would bring pregnant women, the yoldos, and in this pure area, they would give birth to children, because that was the birthing ward. So umegadlo sham b'neiam, and they would raise them up over there, li para, in order that they should sprinkle the ash of the paraduma. We'll explain in a second why they did all this. Umevian shvarim, and they would bring oxen, ve'al gabeim dlasos, and on the back of the oxen were doors, to separate from the children and the ground. I guess they'd sit upon them. Yeah, when they would go down to get the water, they had to go down to this whole Meshilot, this area where they got water to mix with the ashes. So they would sit on these doors. They shouldn't hit the ground. The tinokus yoshalan, they would sit upon them. The kosos shall even be them. Everything was done with stone vessels, so they shouldn't become impure. Umalu, and they would go down to this area with the water. Meshiloach, they would go get water and bring it back up. The yashru bim koman. Now, so what we need is, there was clearly a worry of impurity, and they did so many things to avoid it. So what do you see? Eretz Yisrael had impurity. That's the question on Rabbi Yochanan. We see that Eretz Yisrael, we are worried about impurity. They did all these things to avoid impurity. Now, the background is much more explicit, I think, in the Mesechus Sukkah. But basically, there was a debate with the Tzaddukim, right? In the Second Temple, there was a lot of Sadducees that denied lots of parts of the Torah, and we did a lot of things to counteract that, so that the Jews shouldn't fall prey to them. So one of the things was that they believed that when a person becomes tamei and he went to the mikveh, he's called a Folio, and they believed that such a person has to wait until nightfall in order to sprinkle the ashes. The Kohen had to wait until nightfall before he was allowed to sprinkle ashes of paraduma ashes on someone who's impure. And we held not that way. We held that no, you don't have to wait till nightfall. So they would go and take a Kohen and impurify him and dunk him in a mikveh, and then have him sprinkle the ashes to show that the tzaddukim are wrong. However, this was a big threat because you're basically now created a lot of laxity in the whole paraduma process. Oh, look, you don't have to wait till nightfall. We're very lax in this. So because they were lax in this, they were worried now because they avoided the problem with the tzaddukim. But the other problem was people are going to view this very lax, very lenient. So therefore, they did all these stringencies that people shouldn't view this process as something which is not such a big deal. No, it is a very big deal, and they treat it very severely. So that's the basic background. So either way, you see like Rabbi Yochanan, like Reish Lakish, they were clearly worried about impurity, and therefore they had to do all these things to avoid it. So Rav Huna, Brei Rav Yeshua, no, it's not a proof because Maila Asu B'Para. They did so many stringencies by the paraduma, not necessarily reflecting the fact there's impurity, but it's because this was a super strict area of Judaism, because we were very, very worried that people were going to take it lightly. So the fact that they did all these things were just extra stringencies to do that people shouldn't take things lightly. There's certain things that technically might not be the worst prohibition according to the letter of the law, but if you start allowing that, right? So like a good example maybe is the obligation nowadays to wear a kippah. They talk about it, that it's not so clear it's biblical to wear a kippah in the first place, how it started from. So, however, nowadays when a kid takes off a kippah, you're making a big statement, right? That's like so you treat wearing a kippah like like a big deal because it's such a statement. It reflects such part of Judaism, right? So or whether you hold a technology on Shabbos, right? Whether you hold it's actually a big debate, is technology biblically prohibited or rabbinically prohibited, right? But it's a defining feature of Shabbos, not turning on lights and all these things. Right. We treat it very stringently because it's a slippery slope. You're going to allow that. You're going to allow so many other things now, right? It's going to lose the sanctity of Shabbos. So to here, for them, the laxity of paraduma was a great danger to them. So therefore, they created all these stringencies. Fine. Esvei. Next question, Rabbi Yochanan, Reish Lakish. Now, Rabbi Yochanan says that Eretz was pure of impurity. He's going to ask on Reish Lakish from Pam Achad Matzu Atzamos Belishkas Dir. So one time they found bones in the chamber. Deer ate in a chamber of wood. Yes, by the base of Mikdash. Ubikshur Ligzor Tuma Yerushalayim, and they wanted to decree impurity on the whole Yerushalayim. They found a few bones in one of the chambers. I'm like, oh my God, there might be more. Let's decree impurity on the whole Yerushalayim. Amar Rabbi Yeshua al Raglo, he stood up on his feet. Amar Lo Busho Klimahi Lanush and Nigzar Tuma al Ir Avosenu. Is it not a total embarrassment and disgrace to declare impurity on the city of our fathers? It's interesting. This is when people started coming down to Seoul in the mid-1800s, and they wanted to rebuild more either the religious Zionists or some of the secular Zionists. There was Jews living in Jerusalem. They're like, we have a way of life we've been doing for many, many years. You're infringing on that. Right? So it's a similar thing. You're coming to do something to the city of our forefathers. But here it's a little different. It's embarrassing. So Aye Mesei Mabul, Aye Mesei Nebuchadnezzar. Listen, where are the dead people of the Mabul of the flood? Never here. And Aye Mesei Nebuchadnezzar. And where are the dead people from Nebuchadnezzar's time? They're not here either. So Midik Amar Hachi Lav Lememra Delohavu. And the fact that he told them this, that look, there's no corpses left there's no corpses from the Mabul, assuming that it didn't happen. So that's a proof that there are never any corpses around because of the Mabul, because the Mabul never hit Eretz Yisrael. Now, says the Gemara, well, that's not a good proof because he also said that there was no corpses of Nebuchadnezzar's time. Now, that for sure there was. According to your reasoning, what are you going to say about Nebuchadnezzar's corpses? So when Rabbi Yeshua said there's no corpses from Nebuchadnezzar, what did he mean? Clearly he meant Havu Upaninu. They were here and we cleared them away. So Hachanami said the same thing. The corpses were around from the Mabul time. The Mabul did hit Eretz Yisrael and we cleared them away. So v'afnu ha, so v'afnu, so ha'ifni. So once they were cleared, so you can clear those away also. So now, nihidi the ifni miyushalayim, but mikul Eretz Yisrael lo ifni. So maybe you'll say that. So Reish Lakish is going to say, sorry. So the Gemara asks, look, ha'ifni, they cleared away all the bones. So even you, Reish Lakish, what are you worried about? Even if the Mabul hit Eretz Yisrael, but you see from here that the Nebuchadnezzar's bones have been cleared away, the Mabul's bones have been cleared away. So you, Reish Lakish, why do you have to go find a special area and inspect it for that it's pure from impurity? All the bones that might have been there got cleared away. Says the Gemara, you're right. Yerushalayim, they cleared away the bones. How Yerushalayim is Yerushalayim, holy city of Jerusalem. That I understand. But who says that the rest of Israel, they were as stringent and went around clearing away all the leftover bones from the Mabul and from the Nebuchadnezzar's time? That they didn't do. So when you have to burn the red heifer outside of Yerushalayim, according to Reish Lakish, you have to find a specific area that is clear of impurity. Therefore, it's not a question on Reish Lakish. Okay, now, yeah. No. The same thing, just a different version. There's a question that Reish Lakish asked Rabbi Yochanan, where are all the dead people from the Mabul? Where are all the dead people of Nebuchadnezzar? So is it not, don't you see the fact that there were dead bodies of Nebuchadnezzar? There were corpses from the Mabul as well? Question. So on Rabbi Yochanan, look, the Mabul definitely hit. We're comparing Mabul to Nebuchadnezzar. And there for sure were corpses. It says the Gemara, no. No. Nebuchadnezzar was a case where they had corpses and they cleared them away. The Mabul, they never had corpses. So when he said it, when Rabbi Shua said this, he wasn't referring to the exact same case. Where are the corpses of the Mabul? Not here because they never hit Eretz Yisrael. Where are the corpses of Nebuchadnezzar? They were here, but we cleared them away. So not necessarily a question. You could say it's referring to different things. Okay. So now we're going to bring proofs from the actual story of the Mabul. And here we get some of the detail filled in from our next time around Parshas Noah. So Mikol Asher B'charavam. So it says all living beings from all the dry land died. So now, Bishlam, who's talking now? Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish, who holds that the Mabul did hit Eretz Yisrael. Bishlam al-Didi, a good according to me, the Amina Yared Mabul, but I say the Mabul did hit Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, Mishum Hachi Mesu. That's why it says everyone died. It says everyone died. So everyone, even the people that were in the land of Israel, they died. But according to you, Amai Mesu. What does it mean everybody died? Every living being outside any living creature outside of the ark died. So according to me, it's very good. Literally everybody died because the Mabul hit Eretz Yisrael, no exception. But according to you, how do you understand that? Amai Mesu. To which he answers, Mishum Havla. There's incredible heat. It was very hot. Why? The waters of the Mabul were boiling hot. Why? Since you sinned with boiling, referring to semen, which is on the warmer end, not cold, therefore you're punished with boiling water. What we call midah keneged midah, right? Hashem responds to the way you sinned. That's the way he responds. So yeah. How do you know that there was boiling water? It says vayisochu hamayim. Now, what is this word vayisochu? Uksiv hasam. Out of all places, Megillah Esther, his fury cooled down. Achashverosh cooled down, and that word "cool down" is the same word as by the Mabul of "cool down." So the water cooled down implies the water was boiling hot. So vayisochu hamayim uksiv hasam v'chamas hamelech shacha. and the anger of the king resided. It cooled down. So what do you see? The water of the Mabul cooled down. Cooled down from what? From being boiling hot. Okay, so that's that. So two opinions why everyone died, even the people in Eretz Yisrael, either the water or because the intense heat, the boiling hot water. I could have used some this morning for the windshield, yeah. So
Not a minute.
right. So Ika de Amri, okay, that's that. Now, similar conversation, but different version. Ace Rabbi Yochanan, who says that the Mabul did not hit Teresh Lakish, Mikol Asher B'Charva Mesu, everyone on the dry land died. Bishvela Didid Aminalach Lo Yard Mabul. According to me, that the Mabul didn't hit Eretz Yisrael. That's why it's called everyone on the dry land died. Dry, it was dry land. Why was it dry land? Oh, because the flood never hit. Now, I think they point out, looking around, it's a very interesting topic, that we say the flood never hit Eretz Yisrael, meaning what stopped it?
Yeah.
That itself is miraculous. There's no wall stopping, what stopped it? There's the Gemara somewhere in general, not Gemara. How that maybe it's from Mauritius. One of the novelties was that like the water's in the ocean, it doesn't flood everything. Mm-hmm. That beach, that sand, stopped it. Hashem created boundaries. Yeah. The bracha in the morning, I wrote Haaretz Alamayim, separate the land. Yeah. So okay, that's why it's dry. According to that, the Mabul hit Eretz Yisrael. Why is it dry? Ma'i Charva. It means no Charva Shaisa Meikara. The land that was dry originally, not that it's still dry now. It's land that was dry originally. Why was it dry? It was dry originally before the flood. That's all it means. Not that it's now it's soaking wet. Not that it's dry. So why was it called dry? Because Rav Chisda said that the gzeira, the enactment, was never went on the fish in the ocean. Shenamar. Only the people, only everything on the land died. Below dagim shebayam, but not the fish in the water. So, yeah, but not the fish in the water. Some ask why the animals have to die. What they do wrong? So that they say, the ethical masters, the Bali Musa, they say that a person's actions affects the whole world. Even the animals became corrupt. Everything became corrupt. Once a person becomes corrupt, the whole world falls. So
just had a whole because of
people messing up. Yeah. With animals. Yeah. So now there's Bishma Lamandam Lo Yard Mabul Eretz Yisrael, according to the opinion that says the Mabul never hit Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yochanan, but then Hainu did come Rima. There's some animal, I don't know the translation of it, it's called a re'im. Comes up every so often, some kind of re'im animal that survived. So if it never hit Eretz Yisrael, the Mabul never hit Eretz Yisrael, we understand how this animal survived. It's hanging out over there, and it was walking around Tel Aviv. I don't know. Yeah, and it survived. So, exactly. It's trying to become Rima. Awesome. Elmanim Yared Rima Hechakam. So here we got a little back to Baba Basra with the sea monsters, a little bit more agadic. According to you, that the Mabul hit, how did this animal survive? The assumption it survived. So, yeah. And apparently it was so big that the Tosfos points out that the intense heat wouldn't have killed it. It's too big for that. Too strong. So, Amar of Yanai, it survived like this. Amar of Gorios Echnisu Beteva. What's the Gorios? The horns? Different parts of this. With the what? Oh, sorry. The baby. Yeah, the babies survived, meaning it was a huge beast. Okay, but the babies were smaller, and those went into the teva. So I have Hamar Barchan Ledidi. One time I saw one of these babies, and they were not so small. Chazali Urzila Derima. I saw the Urzila Derima. This younger aim, and Bas Yoma. It was like a day old, meaning it was a young baby. The Habi Kihar Tavor was as big as the mountain of Tavor, not the one in Portland. Yeah. So the Har Tavor Kamahavyan. How big was Har Tavor? So here we're going to give numbers which either are literal or they're just bringing out the point. They're going to give huge numbers like Bava Basra to bring out the point. So Kamahavi Arbayin Parsa. It was 40 parsas. This animal, and Moshcha de Tzavara, and its neck stretched out. Klota Parsi, 3 parsas, and Marvaasa de Resha was parsa. What's the Marvaasa is the forehead. The what? Oh, the resting, sorry, yeah, the resting was one parsa, upalga, 1.5 parsa. And Rama, its horn was Rama Kaba.
It excreted dung and damn the Jordan.
Oh yeah, it excreted dung and damn the Jordan. And when I went to go watch about the blue whale in Amzi, so these huge animals, when they excrete dung, it's not so far off. So they said it's the biggest excretion nowadays of any animal, the blue whales.
The blue whale.
Yeah, after the cholent. So Amr, okay, small. Okay. Amr Rabbi Yochanan. It's not recorded. Oh, it is. Okay. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Rosho, Hichanisa Lateva. Its head, the way it survived was its head. I'll put a filter on. Yeah, its head entered the table. Or not. Its head entered the table. Okay, so now its head, and that's how it survived. So its head was in the teva, and the rest of the body was out of the teva. So how does that make sense? The resting place for its head was a parsa and a half. You put the head of its nose, of the nostrils, inside the teva, and the rest of it was outside the teva. Now that's a sight to see. So when the kids don't come home with that project, Marcius, no, he's got to make new projects in school. It's much more exciting. Yeah. The Hamar Rabbi Yochanan lo yared mabel. So the Hamar Rabbi Yochanan yared mabel Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yochanan said, lo yared mabel Eretz Yisrael. So Rabbi Yochanan said that the mabel never hit Eretz Yisrael. Okay, what's that question? Oh, I mean, according to Rabbi Yochanan, the mabel never hit Eretz Yisrael. So why did he teach it like this? This whole thing with the re'im. He was saying L'divrei Reish Lakish Kama. According to Reish Lakish, the mabel did hit Eretz Yisrael. So then, how did the animal survive? Rabbi Yochanan was just saying that according to Reish Lakish, it must be that its nose was inside the table. What's the problem? This teva moves. So now, how did it survive now? It goes back and forth. The boat moves. The ship is leaving. Goodbye. What happens to the rest of the animal? So Reish Lakish, that's not so hard. Karnav Kasher B'Teva. They tied the horns to the ark as a tight knot, yeah. So V'Hamar of Chista, yeah, okay. V'Hamar of Chista, aren't you Dora Mabel B'Roiskin Kilku B'Roiskin Nidonu? It says, or Chista says that the Dora Mabel, they were punished because they sinned with boiling hot, meaning semen, and they were punished also with boiling hot water. So now, how did it survive in the water? It was boiling hot. It was boiling hot water. It should have killed the animal. Now this is interesting. It says the Gemara, yeah, but according to your reasoning, you have to say it was miraculous. Why? The table, how it was so waterproof? The table was built with stuff that was not able to survive boiling hot water. Well, the time make teva hechisaga. How did that survive? That's one. The Ode, our friend Og hanging on the back. Melech HaBoshen, where was he standing? So what are you going to say? Ela nes nasalahem. A miracle happened to them. That it cooled down for him on the sides of the ark, and therefore that the walls of the ark didn't get ruined by the boiling hot water. Og didn't get killed, and I guess the re'im also didn't get killed from this boiling hot water. The Yared Mabel Eretz Yisrael. Okay, the Mabel went down to Eretz Yisrael. The hollow push. What's the hollow push?
The dead bodies didn't remain.
Yeah, I mean, even according to Reish Lakish, but the bodies didn't stay there. The bodies got washed away. They got washed away to Bavel. Reish Lakish, Lama Nikra Shema Metzula. Why is Bavel called Metzula? The place where like Hatzalah, like everyone gets saved to, meaning they all got gathered up in Bavel. Why? All Shekol Meisei Mabel Nitzalu Sham. All the dead people of the Mabel ended up going to Bavel, ended up gathering up in Bavel all the bones. So Rabbi Yochanan Amar Lama Nikra Shema Shinar. Now we're talking about Bavel, so let's get more into Bavel. Why was Bavel called Shinar? Shekol Meisei Mabel Nina'ar Risham. They all got shaken off over there. So according to that, Reish Lakish, so if you say that everyone from the Mabel got washed to Bavel, so what are you worried about? The whole Etzel is free of impurity. So it's not possible every single bone. It's got to be some bones remaining in Eretz Yisrael for which we have to check before we burn the paraduma. So I'm Rabbi Ami, Kol ha'ochel. I don't know, maybe you have a better insight. I don't understand what this means. Kol ha'ochel ma'afresh, anybody who eats from the ashes, the dirt of Bavel, sorry. It's ki'ilu ochel basar avosa. It's like he's eating from the flesh of his forefathers. Skip. Sorry. Thank you. Why is Baba called Shinar? It shakes away all the rich people. Meaning people people are wealthy, but it doesn't last. But we see rich people in Bavel. It didn't shake them all away. They're there. No, but the richness, the wealth doesn't last for more than 3 generations, and therefore the wealth is sounds like a punishment. On that, anybody who eats from the dirt of Bavel, it's like he ate from the dirt of the forefathers. I don't know what that means. So therefore, what? Well, that means they're very poor, they're very rich. What does that teach you? I don't know. Bryce supports his teaching. That's just teaching. Eating from the dirt of Bavel, it's like eating from your ancestors. Because why? Because the marble was washed out there. I don't know. It's a negative thing. They're so poor now. There's no more rich people. They're eating of the dirt. That's what it means. The ancestors died there. But it sounds like anybody who eats from the dirt. It's just proving that the people from the marble were washed down there. Yeah, I thought it was saying more like they're very poor. I don't know because the rich people were washed away. Okay, I don't know. Some say no, eating from the dirt of Bavel, it's like eating the creepy crawlers and the insects, and therefore, I don't know, and therefore, don't eat from the earth of Bavel, and therefore what? I don't know. Oh. Okay. We continue. Right, how's your work? Are you drinking water with tea? Water with honey? Tea with honey? You know.